All right, today we're going to dive into one of the weirdest, most fascinating relationships in global politics right now, the one between Russia and Turkey. I mean, it is a partnership just full of contradictions that, when you first look at them, make absolutely zero sense. But stick with me, and you'll see there's a very clear and very deliberate logic at play here. And this is really the heart of it all. This is the big question we're trying to answer together. It's a real head scratcher, right? One minute, you've got a direct military strike on a super valuable asset. The next, it's all handshakes and diplomatic niceties. How in the world is that even possible? So let's get specific. So let's lay out the timeline with a hypothetical scenario that just captures this dynamic perfectly. So picture this, August 28th, 2025. Russia finally makes good on a threat and completely destroys a new Turkish drone factory being built outside Kyiv. A huge economic and strategic blow for Turkey. Then, just a few days later, literally days, Presidents Putin and Erdogan meet, and the vibe is surprisingly positive, almost business as usual. Now, these two events seem like they're from different planets, but as we're about to see, they are absolutely part of the exact same strategy. Okay, so how do we start to make sense of this? Well, first things first, we've got to throw out the old playbook. Forget everything you know about traditional alliances and rivalries. What we're looking at here isn't some crazy contradiction. It's a very specific, very calculated game with its own unique set of rules. And once you know the rules, the whole puzzle just starts to click into place. The first rule of this game is an idea called cooperative rivalry. And you know what? It means exactly what it sounds like. Russia and Turkey can be intense competitors, even enemies in one area, say a proxy war, while at the very same time being essential partners in another, like energy or trade. It's all about going after your own interests, even when you fundamentally disagree on a whole bunch of other stuff. Now you might be thinking, isn't that just an alliance? Nope, not even close. A traditional alliance, like NATO, for example, is built on a foundation of shared values, a promise of I've got your back, you've got mine. Cooperative rivalry? It's not about values. It's about transactions. The whole goal isn't to protect each other, it's to manage the conflict between each other while squeezing every last drop of benefit you can out of the relationship. So if cooperative rivalry is the what, then this next idea is the how. It's called transactional compartmentalization. I want you to think of their relationship like a big ship with watertight compartments. A fire, or crisis, in one compartment, let's say the military strike in Ukraine, can be completely sealed off so it doesn't sink the entire ship, which, by the way, is carrying all this valuable cargo like energy deals and tourism money. Okay, so we've got the framework down, but why? Why do they even bother with this complicated dance in the first place? What is it that forces these two major rivals to stay locked together like this? Well, it really all boils down to three fundamental pillars. The first, and honestly the most powerful pillar, is just pure economic necessity. At the end of the day, a huge chunk of this relationship isn't about grand geopolitics, it's about money and energy, and their economies are deeply, deeply tangled up with each other. Let's just follow the money for a second. First, the imports. In 2023, Turkey bought a staggering $45.6 billion worth of stuff from Russia, and most of that was energy to keep its economy running. Now let's flip it. In that same year, Turkey's exports to Russia were only about $10.9 billion. So you do the math. What does that leave you with? A massive trade deficit for Turkey of about $35 billion. That's an economic dependency that gives Moscow a whole lot of leverage. And this chart just makes that imbalance totally clear, right? The first bar, what Turkey buys from Russia, just completely dwarfs what it sells. That huge gap you see? That's the economic glue, no matter how uncomfortable it is for Turkey, that holds this entire thing together. And it goes way beyond just the raw numbers. The links themselves are strategic. Russia is literally building Turkey's very first nuclear power plant. Russian tourists are the lifeblood of Turkey's tourism industry. And for Russia, which is facing all these sanctions, Turkey is a vital economic doorway to the rest of the world. So you see, neither side can really afford to just walk away. Okay, beyond the money, their relationship is also forged in fire. I mean, Russia and Turkey, they're neighbors in a really tough part of the world, and they are tangled up on opposite sides of multiple conflicts. Now, all this friction could easily spark a direct war, which is exactly why they are forced to cooperate. It's conflict management that's born out of pure necessity. This table is the perfect snapshot of that compartmentalization strategy we were talking about. On the left, you've got all their shared interests: energy pipelines, trade, a common desire not to see one country dominate the world. But look at the right. That's where all the flashpoints are. Turkey's a NATO member supporting Ukraine against Russia. They're backing opposite sides in Syria and Libya. They clash in the Caucasus. The entire point of their relationship is to make sure the conflicts on the right don't blow up the cooperation on the left. And that brings us to the final pillar. And this one is the most personal and maybe the most fragile. It's the unique dynamic between Vladimir Putin and Recep Tayyip Erdogan themselves. Look, in a relationship this explosive, where your proxy forces are literally shooting at each other, you need an emergency brake, right? A safety valve to stop a catastrophe. For them, that's a direct phone call. Over the years, they've built a rapport that lets them diffuse crises that would otherwise just spiral out of control. And nothing, I mean nothing, captures this better than this quote. Get this. Just days after Russian missiles vaporized a multi-million-dollar Turkish investment, Putin doesn't get up and issue threats. No, he calls Turkey a reliable and time-tested partner. Now, this isn't hypocrisy. It's a very public signal. He's telling Erdogan and the whole world, yeah, we have a huge problem in the military compartment, but all the other compartments of our relationship, the ones that make us both a lot of money, are still very much open for business. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. Let's go back to that question we asked right at the beginning. How can these totally contradictory events happen one after the other? Because the answer is, they're not contradictions, not at all. They are two sides of the exact same coin. The factory strike? That was a message sent inside the rivalry box, a crystal clear warning from Russia about Turkey's military support for Ukraine. The summit meeting? That was the system resetting itself, a return to the cooperation box to manage the mess and protect their shared economic interests. The system worked exactly the way it was designed to. So, what's the big takeaway here? Why should you care? Because this Russia-Turkey model, it's basically a sneak peek into the future. Those simple black and white labels of ally and enemy just don't really work anymore. Modern geopolitics is messy, it's transactional, and it is filled with these weird cooperative rivalries. Understanding this framework is absolutely key to making any sense of the world today. And that, of course, brings us to our final question. This entire delicate balancing act seems to depend so much on economic need and the very specific personal chemistry of two leaders. So what happens when one or both of them are gone? Can this strange but kind of stable paradox actually last? Well, that is the great unknown.